Today's story is a story about a night taxi driver who has to carry ghosts to find his wife. Maybe everyone has heard of this story before. I personally find it interesting, so I want to tell it and share it with everyone for those of you who have never heard this story. The guy who told this story was Mr. Tan, and Mr. Tan said that at that time he was still in an area. This area had extremely few passers-by at night. I know a story that at the end of this alley there are 3 taxi drivers. These 3 people drive, but I don't know if it was a promise or an arrangement. But these 3 people are divided into shifts to run. Then one person runs from morning until noon, then another person runs from noon until evening, and then another person takes turns running from evening until morning. At that time, Mr. Tan had a lot of work that he had to do late at night, guys. That day he was about to go to the airport to work, so he went outside the alley to find out if there is a taxi driver to take him to the airport. Then when you go out there, then he saw a driver sleeping on one of his cars, with his legs resting on the front of the car and his hands clasped behind his neck and lying under the seat. That's when Mr. Tan came to call. This uncle just sat up. Then Mr. Tan asked, "Uncle, you drive a taxi, right?" Then this uncle called okay. Then asked him where he wanted to go. Then Mr. Tan told this guy that the place he wanted to go was the airport, and then asked for the price. After the two of them discussed everything, Mr. Tan climbed into the car so this guy could take him away. As you know, in such a dark night, there was only 2 people on the entire road. Then Mr. Tan, I have to start a conversation to talk to this guy to relieve the cold feeling at night. Then, after talking for a while, he found out that this guy is the guy who regularly runs the night shift right at the beginning of this alley, from 10 p.m. to somewhere around 3 or 4 a.m. At this time, Mr. Tan told me that this time you often go to work at night and don't know that I will take you to the airport. For example, I called you to ask you to pick me up. I don't know if I can get home from the airport or not. Then what's the price? Then this guy is okay. Then I told him the price, and when he thought it was reasonable, Mr. Tan said, "That's it. Now give me your phone number, then I'll call you every time I go. Please let me know so you can come pick me up." Later, after Mr. Tan took this uncle's taxi for a while, he and I kept going back and forth like that. Then we chatted during the night trips and became very close. Then one day Mr. Tan was going from the airport to go home. Then Mr. Tan called his uncle so he could come pick him up. At that time, it was around 2 to 3 a.m. while driving like that. So the road was dark, the wind was cold. He said, "Every time I don't take you home, will you bring a ghost?" Can you imagine the scene at that time? Mr. Tan was walking with this guy between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. The road was deserted, only the wind blew by naturally. One of his spines went cold. Only then did he calm down, and then he said to Uncle, "It's dark at night. Okay, I'm scared if you joke like that." Then this uncle, he also said, "Yes, I'm telling the truth, I'm not joking. This is also considered a part of my karma." Oh my God, Mr. Tan's friends, when I heard that, I was so scared. At this moment, I was really scared, but I was more curious than scared. Then he told this uncle, "Let's run, uncle, when you're free, let's go have a coffee, then tell me how you transport ghosts." Then this uncle, "Please answer immediately, uncle." I just said, "What do you need to wait for? Let's go today. Now I'm taking you home." At the end of the alley, there's a lady selling coffee in the morning. We're sitting there, then I'll tell you the story. Why do you have to car ghosts like that every night? When we reached the end of the alley, we went inside to drink a cup of coffee. At this time, he looked into the distance, then he showed a very sad look in his eyes, and he just started telling the story of his life. Then he told it. I just said that I've been running this taxi business for just over 2 years now. He said that in the past, he was a person who took care of a temple in that place. Everyone knows that in the city or other places, there are temples in there that do not worship Buddha. It worships girls, boys, or gods, but it doesn't follow Buddhism. Then this uncle said that he worked in there like cleaning, then helped people carry fruit, then helped people make offerings inside that temple, then people came there and they worshipped, then a portion of that offering money will be set aside to give to you, then you will bring it home to take care of your wife and children. He said that he had been working there for a while, until that day, a group of foreigners came and they came to pay their respects. Very, very crowded. These people buy paper horse statues, dolls, paper money, gold and silver, a lot of them. Now they go in there and burn them. To be honest, I say they burn too much. So there's a lot of smoke going up. I'm afraid it will affect the surrounding family members. Then he told the truth that he was taking advantage of the situation, like when he finished his work, he could go watch the soccer match, but at this time they were burning too much and wasting time, so he told the others, leave this person there and burn them, they can just go home. At this time, they think that this mantra is something that people do in the temple. It is normal for people to do this in this temple. They also leave notes of gold and silver money, and then the dolls. The paper horses were for this guy to burn, but as you know he was in a hurry to go watch the soccer match, so during the time of burning like that he only burned paper money, gold and silver, the rest was I just threw it in the trash. Oh my god, it's because of that I'm being blamed. Maybe the gods and saints there were not responsible, but the ghosts and ghosts of these gods saw such actions and blamed him. Then this incident went by for about 2 or 3 days, then my uncle called me from my hometown to tell me that there was a death anniversary celebration in the countryside, asking me to bring my wife and children home to celebrate the death anniversary. That day, he took his wife and children home to celebrate the death anniversary. After the death anniversary was over, he took his wife and children back to the city. At that time, he passed by the intersection. At that moment, his eyes suddenly became blurry, then he saw many people standing around and they were holding sticks and they were hitting him. Then at the moment he saw that, he dodging. He accidentally skidded off the wheel, then he lost consciousness. When he woke up, he saw that his wife and children were dead on the street. It was like he had fallen and hit his head on the railings on the street and died on the spot. To be honest, I was in a lot of pain. I felt like I had lost everything, like I only had my wife and children. But suddenly after a death anniversary celebration like that, I felt sad when I lost all my wife and children. I just stay at home, I don't go back to that temple to work anymore. When I'm so sad and bored at home, I feel so tired and stuck in life. Then he returned to that shrine, sort of like visiting the people he worked with. Then that night I stayed, I just slept, I dreamed I saw the gods and mandarins right at that temple appearing, then standing right next to me, and then pointed the finger at him and blamed him, saying that to him, oh my god. Why do you? Moment, I woke up startled. Oh my god, I was rubbing my tears right now. I realized that what I had done before was to throw away all the paper, money, gold, and silver to make offerings to those souls. Is wrong. when I threw it in the trash, and now they have punished me by killing my wife and children. Then when I received such a dream from the divine Mandarin, I now told it to everyone. At this time, everyone called me stop. Now go make offerings to that Mandarin, saint, God, to ask them if there is any way to help you. Then at this moment when I decided to make offerings, the next night when I made offerings, I dreamed again. I dreamed like that holy Mandarin told me that these were the souls of his wife and children, when they died on the street, were dragged away by the ghosts and hungry ghosts right there. When my wife and children died, I refused to do any funerals or worship services. Thanks to the teachers who brought back the souls of my wife and children, now the souls of my wife and children can no longer be found. The ghosts of my wife and children cannot rest in peace. Now if I want to help them find the ghosts of my wife and children, I will go out on that road every night. Then I waited right there to become a taxi driver, so that night when there were ghosts and ghosts who wanted to go somewhere, it was my duty to pick them up. Who knows, maybe one day. They felt compassion. They found the ghosts of this uncle's wife and children. The moment I heard what this God said, from then on I went out to the road every night. I became a taxi driver and I drove ghosts around. There they go to graveyards or cemeteries or to houses where those souls want to go. At this point, Mr. Tan asked, "Is that terrible? Did you see the ghost when you transported the ghost like that?" Then this uncle said, "You see, just like the officials at that temple, they opened your eyes so you can see those ghosts." Then I said, "I don't feel ghosts when people get in the car, because it's just a blurry shadow. There are dolls on my car that I hang there right there. These ghosts, when you are there at night, they will appear and they will call you, then they will tell you the places they want to go, then they will enter souls into the dolls he hung on that car, then he drove them there, but absolutely no money was allowed. Because it's like you're doing good deeds so that in the future you can find the ghosts of your wife and children, but now those ghosts who give you money are only money from the underworld. There's no such thing. Where can I use it?" What you said is the scariest thing, is that ghosts that exist for too long will become ghosts. You said they appear and they climb into the car, they ask like real people, but ask like that's real people, guys. Oh my God, only ghosts will enter dolls, and evil spirits will sit on car chains. I can feel it. After this story, Mr. Tan has confirmed one more thing. Spirituality really exists and is really the stories that people hear and think are fictional, virtual, fake, but they are not. Only those who are truly involved can understand how terrible spirituality is. And this is also a lesson that Tan wants to send to everyone, as well as that he wants to share with everyone. Like it, we worship, we are sacred, never make mistakes like this. So guys, and this is the end of the story. Everyone who listens to the story finds it interesting. Please give me one like and one subscriber. I hope everyone has fun listening to the story. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.